After the age of 50, many people notice changes in the way their mind feels. Thoughts may take longer to form, focus can slip more easily, mental energy may fade faster than it once did. These shifts are often dismissed as normal aging, but that explanation hides an important truth. The brain does not simply age on a fixed timeline. It responds day by day to the signals it receives from the body and the environment. The real question is not whether the brain ages, but what quietly accelerates that process without us realizing it. Near the end of this discussion, I will explain the single overlooked condition that determines whether the brain slows down gradually or ages faster than it needs to. To understand this, we first need to understand how the brain actually stays young. The brain is not a static organ. Medical experts agree that it is constantly remodeling itself. Brain cells communicate through electrical signals and chemical messengers. When these signals are used regularly, the connection strengthens. When they are neglected, the connections weaken. This ability to adapt is called neuroplasticity, and it continues well into later life. The brain also depends heavily on blood flow, oxygen, glucose, and proper waste removal. Every memory, every decision, and every movement relies on these systems working together smoothly. We will return later to why this coordination matters more than any single habit. As we age, several natural changes occur. Blood vessels may become less flexible, inflammation can increase quietly, energy production inside brain cells becomes less efficient. None of these changes automatically lead to decline. Problems arise when daily habits add extra strain on systems that are already working harder with age. These habits often feel harmless because they are common, familiar, and socially accepted. But over time, they send powerful signals to the brain. We are going to walk through these patterns carefully because the final insight depends on seeing how they connect. One habit that quietly accelerates brain aging after 50 is chronic sleep disruption. Sleep is not passive rest. During deep sleep, the brain clears metabolic waste, consolidates memory, and recalibrates stress hormones. Research suggests that poor sleep quality is associated with faster cognitive decline, not because sleep is optional, but because it is when the brain performs maintenance. Traditional cultures treated sleep as sacred, often aligning rest with natural light cycles. We will come back later to why sleep is not just recovery, but instruction to the brain. Another subtle habit is prolonged sitting with little movement throughout the day. The brain relies on steady blood flow, and movement is one of the primary ways circulation is maintained. Long periods of inactivity reduce oxygen delivery and slow nutrient exchange. Traditional lifestyles included frequent low-level movement, not intense exercise, but consistent motion woven into daily life. This pattern supported brain health without exhausting the body. Keep this in mind as we continue, because movement plays a role beyond muscles and joints. Chronic stress is another powerful accelerator. When stress hormones like cortisol remain elevated, they interfere with memory formation and emotional regulation. Medical experts have observed that prolonged stress can affect areas of the brain involved in learning and recall. Traditional systems recognize this long before neuroscience. They emphasize rhythm, breathing, prayer, and periods of stillness to signal safety to the nervous system. This idea of signaling safety will become central near the end of this discussion. A fourth habit is eating patterns that spike blood sugar repeatedly throughout the day. The brain depends on glucose, but it functions best when levels are stable. Frequent spikes followed by crashes strain blood vessels and promote inflammation. Traditional diets tended to be slower, more fiber-rich, and less processed, allowing energy to arrive steadily rather than in surges. This was not about restriction, but about pacing. The importance of pacing will return later in a larger context. Another often overlooked habit is sensory overload combined with mental underuse. Constant noise, screens, and notifications stimulate the brain superficially while depriving it of deep engagement. At the same time, many adults stop learning new skills, languages, or patterns. The brain thrives on meaningful challenge, not constant distraction. Traditional elders often engaged in storytelling, teaching, crafting, and problem-solving roles that kept mental circuits active. This balance between stimulation and depth is more important than it appears at first glance. Dehydration also quietly affects brain aging. Even mild dehydration can reduce attention, memory, and mood. As test perception declines with age, many adults drink less water than the brain requires. Traditional practices often included warm broths, herbal infusions, and structured meal times that supported hydration naturally. This may seem minor, but hydration influences circulation and waste removal, which we will connect later. Another habit is irregular daily rhythms. Eating at inconsistent times, sleeping at varying hours, and constant schedule shifts confuse the brain's internal clock. The brain operates on circadian rhythms that regulate hormones, temperature, and alertness. Disrupting these rhythms repeatedly places extra strain on cognitive systems. Traditional cultures lived by predictable daily patterns that reinforced internal timing. This predictability played a protective role that modern life often erodes. Finally, one of the most underestimated habits is emotional suppression. Avoiding grief, joy, reflection, or expression keeps the nervous system in a guarded state. The brain processes emotional experience through specific networks that support memory and learning. Traditional elders often had structured ways to process emotion through community, ritual, or storytelling. This emotional circulation supported mental clarity in ways that are rarely acknowledged today. At this point, it might sound as though the brain is under constant attack from modern life, but this is not the conclusion we are heading towards. All of these habits share something deeper. They are not damaging because they are harmful in isolation. And now, we arrive at the insight we have been building towards. The brain does not age fastest because it is overworked. It ages fastest when it is never allowed to fully enter a state of biological safety. When the brain remains alert, rushed, stimulated, or stressed without clear periods of completion and rest, it cannot consolidate learning, repair tissue, or refine connections. Traditional systems understood this intuitively. They protected quiet mornings, slow meals, evening stillness, and unhurried sleep not as luxuries but as biological necessities. Modern neuroscience confirms this through studies of sleep, stress hormones, and neural repair. This is the key truth. The brain does not renew itself during effort. It renews itself after effort when it receives a clear signal that the work is done. Without that signal, the brain remains in a holding pattern, consuming energy but never fully restoring itself. This is why two people of the same age can live similar lives, yet one maintains clarity while the other declines more rapidly. The difference is not intelligence, genetics, or supplements. It is whether the brain is regularly permitted to stand down. When you understand this, the earlier habits make sense. Poor sleep delays restoration, constant stress blocks safety signals, irregular rhythms confuse timing, overstimulation replaces depth. Each habit quietly interrupts the brain's ability to complete its daily repair cycle. Traditional practices did not slow the brain. They gave it permission to finish what it started. As we conclude, remember that brain aging is not a verdict. Medical experts agree that the brain remains adaptable throughout life when supported properly. Traditional wisdom reminds us that support is often gentle, rhythmic, and patient. This information is educational and does not replace professional medical advice. Any concerns about memory or cognition should be discussed with a qualified healthcare provider. If this perspective resonated, allow it to shift how you view your day. The most powerful protection for the aging brain is not constant stimulation or forceful intervention. It is the quiet certainty that the body will be allowed to rest, reset, and remember how to function well.